2023. Here to help us trade. Courtney, welcome. Start us off with Enphase. Would you be a buyer here?
I would actually. So Enphase, I mean, really solar and clean energy in general, it's long been seen as the future of energy, but it's been really hard to invest in profitably. And that's where I think something like an Enphase actually stands out, because not only is it profitable, but their gross margins are above 40%. And I really like that they have a strong balance sheet. They have about $1.6 billion in cash and less than $640 million in liabilities. Plus, they have a lot of free cash flow. So it really is going to lead them into a lot of more growth opportunities as we move forward. And lastly, I like that they have the ability to pass on their price increases to customers as they face things like supply chain issues or chip shortages that have affected them. But when you're in a higher inflationary environment, when you have the ability to pass on those costs to customers, that is really important, which they have proven to have. And so I think for all of those reasons, I'm optimistic here.
Well, let's move on, Courtney, to Fisker. What do you think?
Fisker, I'm not as optimistic on. Actually, I have a sell rating here. The problem here is profitability is going to become really important, especially in the higher rate environment. They're not only not profitable, they really don't have any revenue to show currently. So it is up on some news that they're going to finally deliver some vehicles earlier than expected now in the spring, which is great. But they really are still going to be facing a lot of the issues their competitors are with supply chain issues, issues with chip shortages, and they have really not a lot of room for breathing in their balance sheet. So they basically have enough cash to cover this year's worth of expenses, but not by a whole lot of margin. And so if they don't have the demand that they're expecting, or if there are any further supply chain issues, there's not a lot of room for error there. So I would not be a buyer here.
All right, Teledoc, that brings us to this one going the other way today. You a buyer of the weakness or seller sticking with the trend?
Sellers sticking with the trend here. Teledoc, again, is unprofitable. They're not expected to be profitable until probably 2025. But I really think this is a company who was benefiting from the trend during COVID, but now they face a lot of competition, not only from smaller competitors, but also the likes of an Amazon who just bought One Medical. And they're just currently their free cash flow is deteriorating, and it's really not the kind of company that I'm going to continue to be in. And while they did have not a bad quarter they recently reported, their guidance was not very optimistic for future growth. So I would avoid this one again.
All right, Courtney, great to see you. Thanks for all your picks today.
Thanks for having me.
Courtney Garcia.
All right, 2 years after a bombshell report showing that Hollywood is losing $10 billion annually from racial inequity, the industry is actually moving backwards. During February, we celebrate Black heritage through the stories of some of our CNBC teammates, contributors, and leaders in business. Here's Roger Ferguson, former Federal Reserve Vice Chair and a CNBC contributor.
My heritage and culture as being an African-American male has had a major impact on my career. And the main thing is that it is focused in on areas where blacks have frankly been disadvantaged, with a real focus on financial security, financial literacy, retirement savings, that range of topics. And I think it's really important for everybody, but it's particularly important for our African Americans who have been forced to be at the bottom end of the income and wealth spectrum, and anything we can do to overcome all of that years of heritage and discrimination, I think is really important.